Welcome, welcome to Buddha's in Your Landfill. We'll pick up yesterday. I've been yesterday. I talked about my own personal experience and the two ways or the two paths that we all travel in our meandering way home. One is the gradual path, and I described it as finding the tail of an anaconda and beginning to pull it out slowly, experience by experience, and following it through clues and through chance meetings and coincidences, and just following your heart. And the other way is the more dramatic, when you suddenly fall into a sinkhole where everything is suddenly different, where your life changes and you can never go back again. And these two methods work together. And I realized today that this morning, as this talk unfolds, it's kind of like this path here, where every morning I pull the tail of the anaconda out a little more, and it reveals more of the story we're unfolding and the journey we're walking together, not all at once, but gradually, step by step. And yesterday we left off where we were talking about the falling into true nature, and then finding ourselves back up in our world of personality and strife and conflict and confusion, which we call the labyrinth, or Buddha's in your land, or the landfill. So we fall out of the landfill, and then we suddenly find ourselves back in the landfill, longing for that sinkhole experience again. Romantic love is like a sinkhole. When people fall in love, it doesn't last. It closes back up, and they find themselves back in a divided, conflicting world, wondering where the romance went. So they keep trying to find the romance again. Or people go to a retreat and find themselves in a state of peace that they never realized before, and then they go back into the world of traffic, and and it begins to dissolve. They can't hold it, you see, and they long, and so they have to go back. Or our entertainment, or everything that we talked about yesterday. We create ways of falling into a Garden of Eden, so to speak, or where we're whole, and but we can't hold it, and we return to the world again. So that's where we left off yesterday with the question: where is this sinkhole? So let's continue our journey today, and I realized something else this morning, that what's awakened me is that integrating awareness. It's kind of like MacGyver, who uses whatever's available to get out of a fix or tell a story. So I use whatever's available to unwind this anaconda we're pulling out, this energy, this Shakti, this energy that we're pulling out of our psyche here to reconnect us to life, you see. So I use the Christian stories and the Garden of Eden. So let's look at this today. This is complicated. We'll kind of like walk through it. But, in the Genesis story, the Garden of Eden, you have a tree of life and a garden where everything is one. It's symbolic of peace. The lion and the lamb lie down together. But it's a place where we are at home, and we're not at war with the world. It's a place where we are comfortable, at ease, in our center, and we're creative. And there's no more seeking when you're at home. So then there is an apple, and so and the other thing that's interesting too is that in the garden story, the snake is evil, but in the Indian Hindu mythology, the snake is the goddess, is energy, is creative energy. So the snake is is that anaconda we're pulling creative energy out of ourselves. So the question is, what happened and how can we get it back? Well, basically the story is the apple got split. When they bit the apple, they split the apple of the whole into either or good or bad. So now the world is split into two twins, so to speak. The peaks of otter, the twins. We come into this all the time. The either or, this or that, have or don't have, loss or gain, stay or run. Every choice is a choice of two, at least two. If there's one, there's no choice. There's just one. So this divided world is really a divided mind. And we're always conflicted in the, should I go this way or that? And every good turns into its bad, and every bad turns into a good. So nothing stays the same. So this is kind of like a vision of the labyrinth, where we're constantly having to choose between this way and that. And quite often we find ourselves going in a circle. So it's the labyrinth of endless turns. We never arrive home in the labyrinth. There's always another, we finally get everything all fixed, we get all the bills paid, and the refrigerator breaks down. So, oh no, it broke this. So we always hear this sad story. Everything was just right, and then guess what happened? Well, something is always going to happen because that's what the world is. It is not a permanent state. So the question is, how can we live in an impermanent world of choices as if we are in a permanent state? So this is the path of, well, I could say, where is that sinkhole? Where is the sinkhole? How do I create the conditions for the sinkhole so I can drop into this state of centeredness, true nature, the feeling of being home, and I don't have to seek anymore, yet you can still do stuff and get things and do things. This talk, for instance, is an unfolding, right? But I'm not, it's more, for me, it's more like a bird singing. In other words, I'm not singing to teaching to, doing this talk to become famous, or I'm getting any money for it. I don't know if anybody's watching. And so I'm really, for me, it's kind of like a bird song. I mean, this is just coming out. And it's creative because there's no gaining idea in it. You see, creativity is a fountain of energy coming out for no external reason. It can become for something else, but the actual energy of and doing it in is always for its own self, you see. So the question is, how do we find the sinkhole in a world where there's two choices each, and it's the old sign where you have a one-way going that way and another sign going that way, and you stand there and say, which way should I go? And these moments where we really can't choose are the moments for the sinkhole. Think about that. Usually, we choose this or that and we go on, and I bought this refrigerator instead of that one, or I went with this guy instead of that one, and everything's fine. I made the right choice, But there are times where we don't know. It's like when this thing's balanced and the pros and the cons, and each is valuable, and if I choose this, the other one pulls me, and I feel guilty for not choosing the other one. Or if I choose this, the other one feel guilty for not choosing that. So this creates an oscillation in the mind, and it creates it's a neurosis, but it starts out as anxiety. I don't know what to do, and it can develop and it can grow into a panic attack. Wow, 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 like when you stick a microphone up against an amplifier. Wow, 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 and it creates a condition where I can't choose, I don't know what's real, I don't know what's true, and we turn to an authority to tell us. We turn to, because we can't choose. This is like a child who can't choose what to put on, so he has to ask the mother. or I can't choose. When my father was in his 90s, he had a stroke, and he could not. He was always an authoritative, certain. No, he was the captain. He was in the Navy. Okay, he was the captain. He chose. He had a stroke, and he couldn't choose anymore. So my mother chose for him. So we'd go out, and he'd have a menu there, and she would say, "What do you want?" He would say, "You choose." He stopped being angry, so it was a lot easier to live with. But that feeling of I can't choose, or you get, this happens to me all the time, because I really understand this from the inside. You get something, you get something as simple as this. Oh, look, here's a magic marker. And you start turning, how do you get the damn thing out? It won't screw, you pull it, you can't get it out, you knock it, you say, I can't choose, I don't know what to do. And the savior comes in, which is usually my wife, and she goes, like that. And so I say, oh God, I'm so stupid, I should have been able to think, all right, well that is a little teeny example of the labyrinth and how we get stuck in these little places of indecision and confusion and oscillation, and we usually hook up with or call tech support or whatever. And the sinkhole that we're really looking for, the sinkhole is when I know what to do. And when we fall through the sinkhole, we fall into the garden of the whole apple. You see, this world up here in the labyrinth is the world of the split apple. It's in two parts, and both sides are you want to choose the whole, but you can't choose the whole by only getting half the apple. You have to choose the whole apple. But the apple's divided into good and bad, bad, good, you see. Either or, have not. Either or, double, and we're always in these positions where we're damned if you do and damned if you don't. The Republicans right now are in that position with the ACA. They're damned if they repeal it and damned if they keep it. So we find these in large scales and in smaller scale, but wherever we find one, that is the opening to the garden of the whole apple, which is a timeless place where everything is in unity and you know what to do and you know who you are and you have no problems. You just do what you do. That's creativity. You just do it. It's the Nike commercial. Just do it, you see. So when you can only do that when you're centered. If the mind is split into two competing halves, you see, you can't choose the whole apple. You can only choose half the apple. And that kicks the karma down the road. That kicks the exile, the story of the exile. That kicks the exile down the road. So we're continually wandering in the labyrinth, looking for the lost Garden of Eden or the whole apple where I feel at home, no matter where I am, and no matter whether I can open the magic marker or not, you see. There's no story, there's no failure, there's no story about me being in exile and I can't do it or get home, or I'm a victim. You know, all of these stories, you see, reinforce our exile. So we'll pick up this tomorrow. The question is now, how do we create the conditions for the sinkhole to open up so we can drop into our wholeness and we can drop into that promised land that we know is there, where we live from the heart in a compassionate and loving relationship with reality instead of in a conflicted victim relationship with the world, you see. How can I unite? How can I heal the world that I create? That's our question. How can I do that? How can I find my true nature? And where is that damn sinkhole? You know, that, or, where is the tail of that creative snake? Where is that pulled up? So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Thank you for showing up this morning, and may you find a Buddha in your land.